You ever been in one of those scenarios where you like make a movie plot and then it turns out to be real already?
I feel like that about a lot of my ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but I try not to let that get me down. I'm like, oh, maybe I can do it better, or put a different twist on it.
Like, there's that phrase where everything that's like planning to be invented has already been invented, and like.
Yeah.
I guess there's only 5 original songs and everything else is just a derivative of it.
Yeah,
Like
music is a good example for sure. Like people reusing the same chord progressions in like a million songs.
For me, it was when I was younger, I thought to myself, what if there was a movie where instead of paying for things with money, you would pay with time instead? Where if you wanted a short stack of pancakes, you would just sit there for 30 minutes. And then I was like, this is just real life. The phrase time is money just actually makes sense now.
Well, also the movie In Time, which was done really well.
Is that...
You didn't know that was a movie?
Okay, yeah. I think I didn't research it. I was informed that it was a movie.
Okay.
But I never watched it, and I didn't look into it at all.
Well, it's not... Okay, so it's not like you're paying 30 minutes... and then you get pancakes. Kind of is. Basically, everybody ages until they hit, like, I think 25. And then you stop aging and you get, I think, 10 years on your wrist. And so that's the currency for everything. So if you want to buy stuff, you have to pay with time. And as soon as it runs out, you're just dead. You die immediately. And so the rich live forever. Like the fat cats, they've been around for hundreds of years. And it's like the struggle of these poor people who are like constantly have to like buy more and more, and like the rich people keep raising prices, and so they only live like a few years after 25 and then they're dead, and their kids are guaranteed to live until they're 25, but then after that they have very little time. So it's kind of I can't remember all the details now. It's been maybe like 5 years since I watched it. I just remember loving that movie. And there's one scene where
it's a good movie. That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, I made it. So
yeah, that was a great idea on your part. I
you.
can't believe you came up with that and got all those big actors involved. That was a production.
Just kind of waiting for the kickback, you know?
Yeah. You didn't get a kickback from that movie?
Yeah, I'm the ideas guy. I'm not really an executor. So,
they made millions on that, I'm sure. It's very popular.
I'm just waiting to see the green in my bank account.
Aren't we all?
How many years ago did it release?
I think when we were like probably 5, it came out.
Okay. So
I'm impressed that you got that together at such a young
some time.
age. Yeah, they're not quite paying out.
They're making me wait, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not, well, I just turned 25, so now I got the 10 years on my watch.
Yeah. I bet the interest is crazy on that.
So it's called In Time?
I believe it's called In Time, yeah.
So I guess one day when I have time to not watch a reality TV show and start reviewing it, I'll pop open a cold one. That went everywhere.
That was a nice visual.
And if you want to see visuals like that, you don't just have to listen to us on Spotify and Apple Music. You can also check us out on YouTube.
Yeah, or you can just hear me describe it as that can just exploded in his hand. It just kind of went on the couch in his pants a little bit. I thought you brought a tequila soda, but it looks like it's just a creamsicle with no sugar soda.
Yeah, orange vanilla. It's my preferred flavor. I wish it was a creamsicle. Like imagine me just licking a creamsicle.
I mean, that's what a creamsicle is, right?
Yeah,
orange
yeah.
vanilla.
But no, I'm just wishing it was a real this because this is 0 calorie, no sweetener, anything like that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people say seltzer water is kind of like if they put the flavor next to the glass of water, that's what it would taste like. Some people just don't have it like that. But personally, I get a whole bunch of orange and vanilla all up in my mouth every time I take a sip.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of seltzer waters. I mean, I'm a huge fan of soda too. I try really hard not to drink it. It's because it's like one of the worst things for you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I just supplement it with seltzer water.
So I can't wait till we get some viewers, or listeners to reach out to some seltzer companies. Non-alcoholic though.
Yeah,
it's Thursday night.
It's what did you call it yesterday? Double 40 Thursdays.
Oh yeah, it's Edward 40 hands.
Edward 40 hands. So you tape 2 40s to your hands, 40-ounce malt liquors, and that's just your Thursday?
Well, typically I do a double malt liquor, so it's like quadruple.
Does that mean double
malt.
alcohol?
I'm pretty sure, or at least my 21-year-old mind thought that's what it meant.
Okay, that's fair enough. I feel like I should mention I kind of feel like a douche. I'm wearing these glasses that are kind of tinted, but they're blue light glasses. Okay. I got them today, and they seem to help a little bit.
There's a lot of blue lights around here.
Yeah, there's a lot of lights in the studio, and also I actually got them for work because we have really powerful, like bright lights overhead constantly, and then looking at my screens all day, which I have done often, and in the past it hasn't bothered me too much, but I seem to be getting a lot of migraines, so I'm trying these out, which kind of make me look a little douchey, but I'm counteracting it with this whole 70s dad look I have going on right now.
How many people would you say work at your company?
Like 75.
Oh, that's pretty close to like 100.
You could round up to 100. You could say 100 humans.
Oh, that's kind of weird. I just heard about that recently. 100 humans.
Oh, the show?
Oh, on Netflix?
Yeah. I think I saw that. I caught a couple episodes and kind of studied up like the past day and a half to kind of just learn as much as I could and decide on whether or not it's real.
Past day and a half. I heard you were pretty busy this past day and a half. How'd you fill in some time to watch 100 humans talk about things?
Man, you have no idea. I'd had to push a lot of things around. Had to cancel my autograph signing. It was a mess, PR nightmare, but we got it done, and I know a lot about 100 humans if you want to talk about it.
I would love to.
So this is a podcast called Real View, right? Episode 3, we're going strong. We have tons of fan mail coming in. We're trying to take care of it all.
No sponsors.
Yeah, but just in case this is your first time listening to the show, which is probably rare at this point, but if you for first time, we go watch a new reality show every week. We do the hard work for you, and we decide not only if it's good, but if it's real.
Yeah, if it's real, worth the watch, and I think this week we might actually have opposite opinions on the show.
Okay.
I think in the past 2 episodes, we were kind of leaning towards the same side.
Yeah.
But now I think, based off of just our slight conversation we had earlier, you're
off-air.
not as on board with this show as I am.
Yeah. So 100 Humans, it is another new Netflix show. I think it's actually this year, isn't it? It's 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 2023 show. We're with the times. Non-dating, per Aaron's request.
No more kissing.
He does not like watching the smooching on the TV.
There's so many sex comments, though. Immediately. The first episode's about attractiveness.
Yeah.
And then the third episode. It's your favorite app?
Yeah.
Did you watch any others?
Yes. I watched 3 episodes.
Oh, we're on the same page then.
Okay.
Yeah. I was actually kind of looking forward to... So, originally we got a little confused, and I watched a lot of next week's show this week. And got all pumped up for that.
Real world, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'm going to watch so much more 100 Humans this week so I can really go crazy on the true or false. But now we're
you're
on the same page. It? Probably not.
You're not going to finish it?
No, because I like dedicating the time to watching whatever we should watch next week. Because it is a lot of free time. Because some of these shows I think this is like an hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
Each one, so.
But you were saying that you really enjoyed it, so I figured you would just watch it anyways.
Well, one of the main reasons I really enjoy it is I like the editing style. I think it's fun and quirky. It's just a big switch up from the other reality shows that we watched, because this is like a different take on a reality show. This is taking statistical evidence and applying it to 100 humans and seeing how much it adds up in comparison to the research. So, for example, a very simple statistic. They have 100 people and they say, if you think you're in the top 50% of the attractiveness scale, stay in the grid. If you think you're in the bottom 50%, head out. And I think like 25 people leave, which is statistically impossible. Just right off the bat. So I'm going to be saying statistically this entire episode.
Statistically? So that's basically what the show is. They have 100 people and they just run a bunch of fun experiments with them. They don't have a ton of like scientific grounding a lot of the time, and they kind of poke fun at that. They're not trying to be super serious. This experiment proves this. It's just kind of like fun experiments, and they'll kind of jokingly give you a conclusion a lot of the time. And then they'll also bring in experts to talk more about the subject and not just say, this experiment proved this. They'll be like, oh, this was an interesting result we saw. Let's talk to somebody that knows a lot about this thing.
It's a pretty big eye-opener, too, in terms of appearances and everything, because they bring in these professionals, and some of them you're like, I would never expect you to be studying this specific topic. Like, I think the guy who is directly related to, there's one experiment which is, does dancing correlate to your sperm count? Like, how good of a dancer are you? Does that correlate with how much floaters you have? And the guy just comes in, wild hair. He's like leaned back so far on the interview couch. Yeah. He's just talking it up, and everything he says just sounds so supported by evidence and intelligent. You're just like, you're talking about these sperm counts and dancing. How do these things correlate? But then it turns out to be just like the more fit people are better at dancing, and they're more likely to have a higher sperm count.
Yeah, this guy has like the biggest afro I've ever seen in my entire life. It's kind of nuts. I'm sorry, I'm setting my timer right now so that the cameras don't time out.
You're going to look at an afro picture right now just to
Let
make
me
sure.
look at pictures of afro just to make sure it's the biggest one I've ever seen in my life.
just type in common afro hairstyle.
Big and afro energy.
See if his is larger or smaller than the average one.
Yeah, we're going to run statistical studies on the statistical show.
So which one was your favorite episode?
Definitely the first one.
Attractiveness one?
I thought that one was kind of neat, just because it was a lot of... So they did one experiment where they showed pictures of someone that was convicted of a crime, and then they explained what the crime was, and then they asked the audience what sentencing they thought that person should get. And so for 50 people, they showed them like an attractive person and gave them the script of what crime they did. And then the other 50, they gave them like an unattractive person and described the exact same crime, the exact same way. And that one shocked me the most.
Yeah.
So the results they got, which again, it's a small sample size, whatever, but the results were still interesting. The unattractive person got twice the prison sentence almost every time.
It was even they showed the person describing the crime and said like a recommended amount of time that they should be in prison based off of previous encounters with this same crime, and pretty much every time they went above the recommended amount of years for the unattractive person. Yeah. And then you said half the amount for the attractive person. Specifically, there was 2 women who were mothers who I think left their kid in a car or something.
That one was the most shocking to me.
And the unattractive one got 33 years, and the attractive one got 7, I think. So it was even less than half. And one of the main comments that they said was, she's going to remember that for her whole life. Like, honestly, that's enough prison for her. Something like that.
Yeah, like there's so much sympathy towards the more attractive woman. And to be clear, the crime was leaving their daughter in the car, and she got killed by the car heat. So it was a manslaughter charge, and they described it the same way. But that was crazy. They were like, oh, she's got her whole life ahead of her. She's going to be beating herself up enough about this. Yeah. And the lady that was less attractive, they're like, yeah, she's awful. She's scum of the earth. She needs to be in prison for the rest of her life. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
The funny part about all of these experiments too is that they just take photos of actors or actresses or bring them on set, and they give them this whole persona. So it was just 6 actor headshots essentially that they just labeled as mugshots, which didn't really look like it. So I don't know how you get fooled by that, but they just, if they saw that person later on in the day, they'd be like, you scum.
Yeah. And I mean, they just, they made up the crime. They took pictures of random people. That was so wild to me that, it turns out I have a huge advantage if I accidentally leave my kid in the car.
And then there was another episode where it was all about gender battles, so the battle between the sexes. And they had a guy come in who was also an actor, to go off of what I was saying, and it labeled him as like an actual New Zealander or something. And they said he never played tic-tac-toe in his life. And they tried to get men and women to see who would describe tic-tac-toe in a more simple versus a more complex topic. Yeah. They wanted to see on average how many words women used versus how many words men used to describe tic-tac-toe.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just there as this foreigner who's never heard of the game in his life, just nodding, saying yes. And they did that for 2-3 hours probably.
Yeah. The only fun part, I think, for me that came out of that was the one guy that they had to label as an outlier and took him out of that study because he's a special ed teacher. So I guess he's used to like working with kids or having to explain things in detail and, you know, working with kids and having fun. So this guy is like breaking down tic-tac-toe like a million different ways. He's like making songs about it. And he went off for like, I don't know how many minutes about tic-tac-toe. And it was like hundreds and hundreds of words more than anybody else. So that was fun.
And then at the end, when they reveal like the winners of the battle, it's just kind of like an end of credits scene almost, where it's just him singing the tic-tac-toe song and the whole crowd goes crazy.
Yeah.
At first he's embarrassed by it. He's like, why are you guys showing this? And then everybody gets into it and he's the hero all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole crowd is just like singing along with it. And then they like put him on the screen with him singing the song and they annotated it below with like a bouncing ball for lyrics and people were singing along. That was great.
I personally was like, is this a song that I just don't know about? And then I saw the bouncing ball and I was like, okay, they made it into karaoke.
Yeah, no, this dude just made it up. So that was fun. All right, let's talk about the realities of this show. What was faked and what was real?
Honestly, a majority of the show probably is real just because of that's what its goal is, right? It is to try and figure out to how accurate these statistics are, which, you know, even if their results are different from the research, then it doesn't really make a difference because it's probably 100 people versus thousands in some of these other scenarios.
Yeah.
Pick it up from here.
So I'm
dropping the ball.
So how about the conversations where they come up with the experiments? Do you think those are real too?
Oh, those with the three hosts.
The three hosts, yeah.
The three hosts that just are not scientists in any way, shape, or form. They're just not even celebrities. Well, now they are.
Yeah.
Those have to be fully scripted.
Oh, yeah. I don't think the hosts are that good of actors. Mm-hmm. They're pretty charismatic and, you know, they're fine hosts. But they do these scenes where they introduce the experiments and they act like they're coming up with it like on the couch and they'll like spitball back and forth, but it's all very scripted and like it just makes me laugh at like how bad it is every time they do a new experiment.
You ever see the show Dude, What Would Happen?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
it already seems like exactly what I just described.
It was this Cartoon Network show, I think, where it was 3 teenage 20-year-old boys that were just like, dude, what would happen if we filled a bathtub up with sponges and rolled it down a hill? And then they just did it. They had no goal. They just wanted to see what would happen if it was occurring. So it just seems like they just put 3 people in a room and they say, you can have 100 humans do whatever you want. And they're like, all right, here we go. They just decide something on the spot. But
yeah, this is just Dude, What Would Happen with a bigger budget.
Yeah. I mean, where do they get this budget?
I don't know. I mean, you liked it, though. You said it was entertaining. You enjoyed watching these episodes.
Yeah, in comparison to the other reality TV shows that I've been watching. Because it's fun to watch, I mean, to believe, right? That all these scenarios are real and organic. And there's a few characters, I say characters as if they're not just themselves, that reoccur that make it entertaining for me.
Okay.
And also, the reason I found this show is because one of my friends from high school is on the show.
Oh, really?
And he lives in LA. Yeah. So, I think he's human number 57 or something like that. He was featured on their Instagram just dancing.
That's fun.
It's fun because he's gay, so he's always featured with all of the women in the attractiveness thing, and you just always see him in the front just like way more excited than everybody else in the crowd. And it's just me with the Leo DiCaprio meme where he's just like pointing at the TV with the drink in his hand. I'm like, that's my friend. I know that guy.
I probably saw him. Yeah, because I remember when they introduced the dancing thing, they're like, all right, and the crowd is full of all people that are attracted to men.
Yeah.
And like there's like all ladies and like a couple of guys that were like, yeah.
The guys were going crazy.
They were stoked.
And
Just see these 8 random dudes start dancing.
dance moves were fire too.
I'm not gonna lie. I watched the first guy and I was like, all right, this is gonna go on for like 20 minutes. So I just fast forwarded through like all the dancing. Did I miss out? Was that an L?
Well, I mean, I don't want to tell you too much about it because it's one of the true or false questions.
Okay.
He's featured a lot in that attractiveness episode because he's also talking about like the tall janitor who I thought.
Oh yeah.
I thought everybody was gonna be like attracted to that guy regardless, because he specifically mentions that he was attracted to him in the jumpsuit because he just likes jumpsuits. But then he's just like 6'5", so I thought he was always gonna be featured as hot, but people were like, I don't really like him in the regular clothes.
Yeah, I see. That's the thing about where I kind of start thinking this show can just be swayed in any direction they think is more entertaining. Because 99 of them could have been like, yeah, I don't really like him, and then your one friend is like, yeah, this guy's great, and then they show that one clip, and it's just like you can really build whatever story you want off of this show, and nobody's gonna be any the wiser.
But one of the things that like kind of contradicts that is that a lot of times they do script it or they edit it so that it applies the exact way they want you to see it, and then the statistics are completely opposite. So for, I don't know an exact example, but like you were saying, they could have featured only videos of people saying, I don't think these people are attractive outside of uniform, but then the statistics showed that it was like on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe the average was like 1.0 difference, which isn't enough to say that people were more attractive in the uniform versus not. It's just they edited it to be like, this guy's ugly, I hate him, but it's just like 2 people, and then the other 98 were like, he was so hot.
Yeah.
But they don't feature that, the 98.
Yeah. I don't even think that contradicts my point. That's kind of what's good TV, right? Because if you get that, if you know what's going to happen and then it happens, it's kind of boring. So they're like, oh, this might be happening. Oh, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of a bait and switch, keeps you on your toes, keeps things a little bit more exciting. So there's that, but then there's also like they could also just completely fake the results. So like they could have these clips and then be like, oh, actually it was this way. So I just think there's so much room for playing with the numbers. I think if I was a producer on that show and I wanted to make it more entertaining, I would just fudge the numbers like every time to push it in whatever way I think would make a better story.
But it seems like they keep the end results the same, like those are real, but they make the editing style make it seem like it's going to sway the other way, like you just said. But editing in general is very quirky, like I said before. It kind of reminds me of just a YouTube like video, like a long YouTube video or a documentary, because it features so much stock images in the explanation portions. It's just so weird.
It's not something that I'd clocked. What's on your agenda? What are you trying to push?
I'm trying to push that they should go up to 200 humans for the next season.
Let's double it. Humans 200.
You ever see those TikTok trends where like double it and give it to the next person?
Yeah.
Just 100 humans. Netflix comes up to the executive producers. They're like, how about 100 humans? Or double it and give it to the next person. And then it goes off to Hulu and they're at 200 humans.
Give it to the next
Paramount
studio.
Plus, 400 humans.
Time they get to HBO, it's 64,000 humans.
So you like the attractiveness one. There was a specific segment that made me think of you, and I thought you would have more of a say on this topic because you're interested in stand-up comedy and doing that. They have that, does being funny make you attractive?
I love that segment.
That segment, what was your favorite part of that segment?
I mean, it's kind of silly, right? I mean, it's like, oh, do you have a better personality? You're more attractive. I mean, that's all it really is. It's just another personality trait. Like the experiment was they had 2 people that I think might have been stand-up comedians come in, and they each told a really boring story. And then they came in again, they got rated on attractiveness, and they went to a new group, told that same story, but in like a comedy bit way, like a stand-up way, and they got rated slightly higher in attractiveness. And I was like, yeah, if you have a better personality, people are going to find you more attractive. I don't know. I thought that was kind of silly, but it was also a little confidence boost. I was like, that's nice.
They had the one person, after the guy spoke, they had a girl speak and be like, You know what? I wasn't really attracted to him, but after he told the story and made me laugh a few times, I thought he was a little more cute. So I think she said her rating went from like a 4.5 to like a 6.5 just off of that alone. And then the girl, they had her talk about doing laundry after breaking up with somebody, and just, it dragged on for so long. But they saw that it was basically the same result, that being funny does make you attractive. So you don't need to put on sweaters with moose or meese.
I'm still wearing my work clothes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I went straight from work to get a haircut to here, so.
I thought you were going to put on some street clothes like you normally do, backwards hat and everything. I got my...
It looks like you're wearing like a gang t-shirt or something, those letters, like those old English letters.
Mm-hmm. The back goes hard, too. I'm wearing joggers, too. I've been putting on actual pants every other time. I was like, we don't need to do that. All of our thousands of listeners are on Spotify anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of went for an opposite approach here. We didn't match.
I'm disappointed you skipped through the dance section, because it's pretty funny. It does last for a long time.
I think I skipped through like 10 minutes of dancing.
Yeah. Some guys are just straight up pelvic thrusting. That's their entire dance. But then it cuts to the audience, and the people in the audience are like waving, like, "Ooh, that's so hot." And those have to be from two separate sections, because they're so weird.
Yeah.
And the one guy, he dances on the floor. 3 seconds later, not even maybe, it cuts to somebody circling a 2 on the one at a time. And I'm like, no, that poor guy.
Oh man. Yeah, the more we talk about it though, like the more I think this whole thing is fake. I didn't really think it was that fake until like I'm having this conversation with you, and I'm like, every single one of those scenes, they're just painting whatever picture they want. Like, you don't know that was even that guy or that second. It just made for a good bit. It made for something funny that you'd remember.
That's the problem with our concept of this podcast too, is that it's always a percentage that's real and fake.
Yeah.
Because at least that they don't have videos of them bashing on somebody for being unattractive, and in the end the results like match up to that. At least it's like the opposite, where it's like somebody's getting bashed on for attractiveness, and then they say like, oh, but they still rated them highly or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could poke holes in anything too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only thing I didn't like that much about this show is the hosts. The 3 hosts is kind of a weird structure, and they were not good actors. I think they were funny like when they were given like a little bit more free reign, but when they're like trying to read scripts and stuff, I was just like, stop, please. This is bad.
It's actually funny too, because when I was mentioning the stand-up section, I was talking about a different one that wasn't on the attractiveness episode. They have a which sex is funnier, and it's like men or women. If men tell the same joke versus if women tell the same joke on stage, which one will be rated as funnier?
Okay.
Every time, the statistics end up being about like 6.5 versus 6, so it's really not that big of a difference.
It's like the same thing.
But every time that a guy goes up on stage, they cut to the audience where it's just everybody's laughing, and every time a girl's on stage, they cut to the audience and just people are falling asleep. And you're like, what?
Had the whole squad laughing.
Like, okay, so they're getting a stereotype here, and at the end, the results are just the complete opposite of what they edited for. So
yeah, and I think just to poke a few more holes while we're at it. The way that they get participants is extremely flawed. Like for their experiments, so they have like 100 people. They're supposed to be random across age groups and race and sex and stuff like that. And I think they did a good job from what I could tell. But then when they do an experiment, they'll be like, all right, who wants to get tortured? And then they'll pick like 10 people that volunteered. And I'm like, aren't they going to be more prone to being okay with certain things in your experiment? It's just like the way that they pick people is just like completely ruins everything.
Yeah. And like you said, they did a good job, because the one episode about age, they have a perfect amount in each group. So it works out.
It's almost like they planned it.
Oh my God.
You don't think?
You're telling me that they have a show where they want to do statistics and 50% are men, 50% are women?
What are the odds of that? You run the numbers?
No, I can't.
Okay. Isn't it not 50-50 in the world?
In the world, there's no way it would be 50-50 in the world.
Well, it's not like a direct split, but I don't even think it rounds up to 50.
Probably like a 60-40 or something like that.
Oh, I didn't think it was that far. I thought it was like
Oh, okay.
51-49 or something.
Okay, that's not that's not that far up. I think that would round down and round up to 50-50.
Maybe, but I don't know. This is not interesting. Let's move on.
Go flip a coin 7.8 billion times and tell me which you get. How often you get heads and how often you get tails.
I'll write a program to do that right now.
Okay. You are still in your work clothes.
Yeah, don't tempt me. I'll get at it. That's a 7-line script right there.
You ready to take more 50-50s right now?
Yeah, let's do it. True or false?
True or false? You should silence your phone on a podcast. That's the timer.
This is my timer for the...
Oh, okay.
Oh, I hit repeat. That's fine.
Great. Now that we reset the cameras for a third time for a 35-minute podcast, let's do some 50-50s.
Okay, shoot.
Did this happen?
I figured you out last week.
Okay.
So I know how this is going to work. And you don't. So I'm kind of already in your head in that sense. Go ahead.
I don't even want to say it anymore. I'm freaking out. I'm sweating over here. As a part of the dance competition, a competitor aggressively twists his nipples as a dance move.
True. I saw that one. That's when I started fast forwarding.
You're like, I'm done with this.
I think it was like the second dancer, and he just gets up there and just like is just like holding them twisted and just like moving around. And I'm like, what the hell am I watching right now? There's got to be like they're like giving everybody like a good amount of time, like 2 minutes each or something, or a minute. And I was like, this is way too much. I'm getting past this.
The people in the audience are going crazy too.
They seem like they were loving it.
That's awesome.
I love
8
to,
out of 10.
I love to imagine that's one of the parts they cut around and everybody was actually just blankly standing there, but they cut to like a crowd that was cheering him on.
They have the guy twisting his nipples, and they cut to somebody circling 9 out of 10 for attractiveness, and then they have a guy who's actually doing like a headstand or something like that, and they cut to a 1 circle. Yeah. All right, so we're off of the dancing still. A man messes up his falling dance move and gives himself a concussion in front of a 100-person crowd.
Oh, okay. So I didn't watch the whole section. Not sure if this is true. I'm going to say false. It's false.
It is false.
I knew I figured you out.
He's figured me out. He hits the ground and his head bounces a little bit, and I'm personally just worried for him at that point.
Okay, so somebody did hit the ground.
By the way, they were doing this all with paper bags on their head the whole time.
Yeah, that was a little...
As if it blocks who they are.
Yeah, like you can still see their body. They've still been hanging out for like a month doing this show. I'm going to guess before you say it.
Okay.
True. Go ahead.
The end of the battle of the sexes results in a tie.
I'm going to stay true.
Nah.
Damn it.
I think the women win 6-4 versus the men.
Okay. I guess that'd be a lame ending.
They build it up to do a lame ending. Like they're like, all right, who's it going to be? Because it's 5-4. And it's like, oh, the men are going to do it. And they're going to be like, it's a tie. But the women end up winning 6-4. You think I was just doing back and forth, true or false? I'm pretty sure on the first episode I did like 3 true in a row.
I know. I was trying to figure out the algorithm. It's like Fibonacci sequence.
You run a program for this?
Yeah. I'm gonna run it through a generator and I'll get back to you on what your next moves are gonna be.
Oh, you do have the chessboard out front. You've been studying moves for years now.
Yeah. Shoot, what was I gonna say about that?
Well, I was gonna say that I use the Pythagorean's theorem. Not the Fibonacci sequence.
You got the long side of the triangle?
Mm-hmm. I'm C squared. Personally, nice. I'm C squared.
Nice. Shoot. What was the last question? Oh, the girls one. This is what I mean though. Like every time it's an entertaining result and it's always like, oh, we don't know if it's gonna happen. Boom, it happens. Mm-hmm. It just seems like a formula. Like they're nailing the same formula every time.
Dude, Fibonacci all over again.
Yeah. Never disappoints. So I would give the show... Oh, wait, are we done with true or false?
Go, what the heck? Come on, man.
False. All right, let's move on. No, I'm just kidding.
In the age competition... say false, though. Okay, in the age competition, the best 2 decades to be alive are the 20s and 60s.
True.
You said false.
Okay, well, I changed it. I was wrong.
I changed my question so that false wouldn't be right.
Ah, man.
In that age competition, they say it's like a bell curve that when you're younger, you enjoy things, and when you're older, you start to appreciate more things. In that whole competition, the 40s and 50s are struggling the whole time, man.
Yeah.
It's brutal to watch.
I watched that one, and I was so surprised. I did this one where like the 60s, they like do this thing where they have a walkie-talkie on one end of the room, and so they choose one person. They're on the walkie-talkie reading a pamphlet on how to put together a chair, and on the other side you got the rest of the people that are trying to put it together. And the 60s get it done first. Mm-hmm. And at first this guy doesn't even know how to use the walkie-talkie.
They even get untangle earbuds before most other decades as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking this whole time, like, how are they gonna screw in the bolts, and how are they gonna untie earbuds with their old hands?
Wow. Sorry, I don't know if I want to be associated with this. I just want to be clear that Aaron said that comment. We didn't introduce ourselves at the beginning of this podcast.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Preston.
Edit that back in.
Okay. We will now resume the regular podcast. Enjoy.
So what do you rate this show?
I'd give it a 2.
Brutal.
That's a little harsh. It's not like it's poorly made. I just didn't find it entertaining. I thought the hosts were a little too cheesy, not really good actors. And I think the science of it bothered me more than it should have. Like how the experiments, like you couldn't actually use like any of the data they got for anything. And it was more just like for entertainment value. I think that bothered me too much.
I hate that a show used their energy to be entertaining instead of scientific.
Well, that's the whole concept. It's like we have 100 people to do experiments on, and then they consistently like do things to not invalidate everything.
Okay.
I don't know.
So you're a Family Feud fan. You like when they interview 100 people or they survey 100 people and then have a completely different show attached to it. On Family Feud, they go, "We surveyed 100 people." And
I do like that concept on Family Feud,
but not on 100 humans. It's just too straightforward.
It's too like, I don't know. Their experiments just don't. It doesn't do it for me.
Valid.
But I think some people like you know, who don't really care about science or the truth, they just want a cheap laugh. You might enjoy that a little bit more.
Okay. I do not want to be associated on this podcast anymore.
Damn, you find it that makes two of us.
Shots. Okay. Episode 3, we had a good run.
We're split. We did say this was going to be our last episode last week, didn't we?
No, I thought we said last week was last
episode.
Okay. That was the season finale.
Every episode is the final episode.
Potentially, you know?
Could be.
You think about
I might drop dead tomorrow.
You think about the last time you were at your elementary school playground? Did you know that was going to be your last time on the elementary school playground?
I thought the last 10 times I was on that playground was going to be the last time. But I kept going back to my hometown to visit friends, and they lived near the school, so we'd go to the school and hang out on the playground.
I thought you weren't allowed near a school.
Me personally, or just in general?
You personally.
Me personally. Okay. Yeah, no, I still have my school permissions.
All right, the wide angle's done for.
Okay, we no longer have a wide angle. We only have a few minutes left. What do you think of the show?
I would give it a 6 out of 10. It's really not insane, but I thought it was entertaining. I didn't really pay attention to the host. I thought it was literally just about the 100 humans. That's what I was paying attention to the most.
That's fair.
All right, you want me to end off with the lyric? We
gotta
rush
for it.
This.
We have 10 seconds, I think.
Okay. Give me one of those grabby shark heads. I'll make those flabby narcs dead and put them in my daddy's large bed.
That's definitely a real lyric. 100%.
Ooh, we got him,
No
baby.
way.
Yeah,
you wrote that?
Made that up.
That's sick. Dude, that's bars.
All right.
Can you say it to a beat real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me one of those grabby shark heads. I'll make those flabby narcs. Bro, you can't mess it up. I got one more bar. I'll hit it differently. Give me one of those grabby shark heads. I'll make those flabby narcs dead. Then I'll take them to the back. and put them in my chat. He's like, you can't, yo, you messing this up every time.
Bro, it's so hard to like do a beat to a rhythm and then listen to you and try not to laugh at the same time.
You could have just went in the zone, man. You've been listening to David Goggins all week. You know how to get into your head.
I tried tuning you out, and then I tuned in for the last bar, and I still laughed. Oh, man. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been episode 3 of Real View. You can check us out on YouTube if you are just listening to this on Spotify. If you want to see us in studio, this is actually a studio. That's not even a joke. All right, we got professional lighting.
You don't know what I just hit because you're just listening. You don't want to subscribe to us on YouTube.
He's doing a physical bit right now, and this is going to be a close-up, too, so... Oh, and that's a thumbnail for sure. I'm
going to decide that.
Yeah. Well, that depends. Peace. You never say bye on the show, do you? You don't want to say goodbye?
You just say peace. You always just say peace.
You know, you don't want to say... do you have a problem with, like, saying goodbyes? Is that, like, a soft spot for you?
Peace just sounds like a big old stop sign. Like, I feel like you want to cut it on peace.
No, yeah, you can say see ya after that or something like that. Or, hey, yo, this has been Aaron, A-D. It's your boy A-D hitting it with another slick episode. I don't know, whatever you want to say.
Quit it.
Okay. Peace.
Shut it.